Hey, what's the largest problem you're facing right now with your junk removal business? Are you still researching the business and you're looking, hey, where do I get started? Are you not getting enough jobs? Are you slam busy and you're having to turn away work, but you don't know how to take it to the next level, how to hire crews and get more trucks? Are you worried that the crews you have aren't doing a great job or maybe even stealing from you? These are all problems that every junk removal business owner is gonna face as they grow. These are problems I've had and I've learned how to solve. The solutions can be found in the complete Junk Removal Business Training Series. Grow your business, change your life with the JRA Complete Training Series. Welcome everybody. It is Tuesday, noon Eastern Time, which means it's now time for Let's Talk Junk with Junk Removal Authority, where we help junk removal business owners make more money and live a better life. So if you guys are looking to get in business, if you're not in business yet, check out our full business package. There'll be a link in the description. It is the alternative to franchising. So with Junk Removal Authority, we have a bunch of different services you can use, whether you're in business or not. The big option for those of you who aren't in business especially is that full business package. Gives you the training, consulting, and support that you would get from a franchise, from a fraction of the cost, without that really long-term commitment. All right, so today what we're going to be going over is what are you improving or constant improvement? And this is going to be relevant to junk removal. We're going to bring in some real kind of things that you could be working on in your junk removal business to improve it, to make it kind of world class, or at least like the top dog in your area. So recently I came across something, a word that I really thought I liked a lot. It was a peaceful discontent. John Maxwell was the one that wrote about it in a book he did on leadership. Peaceful discontent. Again, this is from John Maxwell. And I really thought this was an awesome not necessarily quote, but just kind of topic or word combination, peaceful discontent. So what is it talking about? It's meaning that you should never be truly content in life with what you got going on in business, with your relationship, with your physical appearance, your health, but you should be peaceful while that's going on. So even though you're discontent, that doesn't mean you're not satisfied. Because I've been in business long enough and been doing this deal long enough to realize, you know, early on in business, you guys are probably always like, you know, all right, as soon as I can get a second truck, as soon as I can get a third truck, as soon as I can get my first employee, as soon as I can go into a new location, as soon as I finally start my junk removal business, I'll be happy. You say, as soon as I do this, I'll feel like I've arrived, I'll feel like I'm happy. As soon as I find a girlfriend, as soon as I get married, as soon as I have a kid. So your entire life, what's going to happen is your entire life, which we're only here, you know, a limited amount of time, a finite period of time until we're going to be taken out of this earth, you know, out of this world. You're going to live your entire life always saying as soon as. Eventually it'll be as soon as I retire. And then eventually you might say, hell, as soon as I die. So your entire life you're going to be saying as soon as. So we want to avoid that. We want to be happy with what's going on, but at the same time we want to constantly be striving to improve at everything. So the word that I've always used long term, ever since I started, I mean, really, if you go back as far as, I don't know, probably 15, when I was 15 years old, so you're talking 16 years ago, constant improvement. And that's what I've always called it, is always searching for constant improvement. So, the nice thing in my case is I wasn't very good, or I'm not naturally good at just about anything. I can't hardly think of one thing that I'm just extremely good at naturally. And that can be frustrating, especially when you're younger and you're trying to do things that just don't come naturally to you. But if you're a really committed individual, in a lot of ways, if you're somebody that something doesn't come extremely natural to you, that almost gives you an advantage in business. Now, why is that? Because in business, there is so much that is out of your control, especially early on. As you get more established, you're going to be more ready for some of these situations that might pop up. But not being a natural prepares you for success in business, because you might have an equipment delay or a breakdown, So those of you with just one truck especially, you guys are a little exposed if you have just one truck and something goes down, that little bit of pushback right there, that little bit of resistance, you have to be able to take that in stride. So you evaluate what's wrong with the equipment and you do whatever's necessary to keep moving forward. Could be renting a piece of equipment or buying another truck or something like that. You might have a key employee that leaves at the worst possible time. And what you have to do as soon as that occurs is you gotta almost remove the emotional anger and everything and move right to, all right, so what do we do now? We recently had that happen maybe 4 or 5 months ago. And we left ourselves a bit exposed. We were too reliant on too few people. This was with JRA. Somebody left. Well, immediately after we got over a little bit of frustration, it's going into, okay, so how do we fix this now? How do we put out this fire? And then how do we ever prevent this from occurring in the future? And that second part of the question is where constant improvement comes into place. You might have more work with deadlines than you can possibly handle. You don't want to miss out on the work because you can't get to it soon enough, but you have these really, really strict deadlines you're trying to hit. So that is another area where you're going to have to sit there and be thinking, you know, all right, how can I make this happen now? Can I get some temporary labor maybe? Do I need to put out some job ads on Indeed and just increase the spend really high and just commit as much time as I need to do interviews? How can I get creative to get more people to come work with me at my business? Do we need to rent that truck to keep up with those deadlines? So there's a multitude of different things that are going to get thrown your way that you're going to have to work through in business. And you have to be able to approach it logically and be able to put your emotions to the side. And that's tough to do because your business in many ways is your life. If everything in your life as a business owner, as a true business owner, is going to revolve around that business. Because if that business fails, then the rest of the pieces around it kind of come apart too. So it's very, very tough to do that. So the lifelong commitment to bettering yourself, your business, relationships, knowledge, leadership, parenting, whatever you want to call it, that's constant improvement. And we're going to talk about what to improve on your junk removal business and how to approach it coming up next. So if you guys in the comment section, if you want to talk about what's one thing you guys are working on improving in your junk removal business, or maybe you're not in business, so what are you doing to get ready to open up a business? Leave that in the comment section. If you have any questions around something you're working on that you would like help on, also post that in the comment section as well. We'll be happy to get to it. Today is another Amazon drawing day. So what you have to do is click on the link that Matt's posted somewhere. I'm sure he'll let you know there. And you'll click on that link, you'll register, and at that point, within the first 20 minutes of this show, so we don't have a whole lot longer, within the first 20 minutes of the show, I'm going to do a drawing. Whoever wins that is going, or whoever's drawing is going to get a $50 Amazon gift card. We've done this 2 weeks in a row. We've had 2 separate winners, so looking forward to seeing who that third winner is as well. And coming up. So the important thing to remember here, going back to peaceful discontent, is at some point in business, you're going to have accomplished the initial goals that you set out. As long as you kind of stick with them, you remember what those goals are, you fight through the setbacks that come your way, at some point you will accomplish those initial goals. And if you sit there on that, if you don't strive for the next thing, if you become content, maybe you go start taking a lot more vacations, but while those vacations are going on, you're not thinking about improving your business. Or while those vacations are going on, there aren't other people still working to grow the company. If the company begins to be stagnant, you get happy with the money it's making, you get happy with the number of customers that are coming in, things are overall going pretty well, but you're still not doing some form of growth, that's the point that your competition is really going to catch up with you. I have gotten to that point in the 10 years we've been in business maybe 3 times, and it doesn't last long. I kick myself out of it pretty quick. Sometimes it's because I see externally something's going on, or sometimes I say, you know what, this isn't what I set out to do. This feels good, I'm happy here, but now we got to keep pushing on because this isn't the eventual goal or the big goal that we want to go for. We want to constantly be improving this. With improvement as well, when you have this mindset of constant improvement in your business, the great thing is you're not focusing just on monetary returns. You're focusing on other things that are going to improve your business. Well, that means the monetary the money will follow. If you focus just on the money first, then you're looking very short term. You might be able to make good money in the short term, but long term, if your business doesn't constantly improve, then your returns go down. So, what are things in your junk removal business that you should be working on, or what you should be improving? Well, the first thing is you might realize, hey, I have a lot of fires that are going on. I have a truck that keeps breaking down. I have employees that aren't necessarily the best. I've got a customer that's extremely angry. We've got a job, or somebody just got injured. So you can have all these fires and these things you have to put out, but what you have to remember is putting out fires isn't improvement. So if you get these fires, what you need to be asking yourself is, all right, one, I've got to get out of this, but so how am I going to quit? How are we going to get out of this? How are we going to solve this fire? But the next question is all right, how do we prevent this fire from happening in the future? And that's what a lot of people avoid. So they think about just solving the fire that's right in front of them, and they don't ever cross into how are we going to avoid this from happening in the future. So if you have a truck that breaks down and that puts you out of commission, or you have to go rent another truck, you need another truck, or you need another crew. If you have one employee that all of a sudden quits right when you needed them, and now you can't get to a bunch of jobs that you have upcoming, you should never have relied on that few of people. So one of the key marks of a great business owner or a great leader is actually anticipating, recognizing problems before they occur, and implementing things to help solve that. So when you're looking at things to improve, the very first thing you should look at is areas of exposure. So with your areas of exposure, this could be from a legal aspect. So what legally could it be? Well, do you make sure you've got all the proper insurance? Make sure you have enough insurance. So when you first start out in business, you might have gone out and you gotten a automotive insurance policy that, I can't remember the exact numbers, I think it's $50,000 property damage, $300,000 liability, or something like that. If you have a 50/30 policy, 5300 policy, whatever, you are not fully covered there. You could wreck into a minivan. Your guys could wreck into a minivan, seriously injure 4 people in that minivan, and the medical bills will exceed that $300,000 easily. Easily, you could go into double that amount. All of a sudden, you're on the hook for $300,000. So look for areas of legal exposure first. Next thing that you might want to be looking at is what's some exposure just around like injuries. This is a big one. If your guys, like when we first started, junk doctors, I was on the truck all the time. I wasn't thinking too much about the different things that we do, because I would tackle just about anything. And what happens, I am pretty good at avoiding injuries, but other people are not. They're just not thinking enough about what they're doing. So that avoiding injury did come pretty natural to me. I could kind of recognize areas of, hey, I need to pay attention here so I don't break my leg or get ran over or throw my back out. I was able to recognize those opportunities. When you go to hiring people, oftentimes they don't recognize the area where they could potentially get injured. So it's up to you to make sure you're training them. You're training them on proper lifting techniques. You're training them how to use a Sawzall safely, making sure they're using the correct safety gear while they're operating that equipment. You're training them pretty much not to get on ladders unless you have one guy that you've worked with closely that you're okay with him getting on a ladder. For the most part, very few of our guys are certified to actually go on a ladder, because as soon as you go up 10, 20 foot on a ladder, your exposure has gone way up. Especially if somebody's passing stuff down, or maybe you're doing a demolition of a roof or something like that, your exposure is much, much higher. That person must be trained. So where are the areas that somebody might get injured? Because that injury is going to raise up your workers' compensation cost. It's going to bring an employee out of your business at that point, where they're not actually able to carry out junk removal, so now you're going to have to be finding somebody else to come in. So injuries are a big deal. The main way to solve that is by giving people the equipment they need, the tools they need to properly do the job, and then most importantly is actually giving them the training on how to use those tools and how to perform their job properly. Other areas of exposure, beyond the legal and injuries, that's insurance related for the most part. You want to avoid that. Your truck situation, your truck breakdowns. Other areas of exposure, you're relying on too few people. Think about basically think about in everything your business has, if something were to fail or somebody quit, piece of equipment failed, some marketing you're doing, all of a sudden quit working. So we talk about Google Ads all the time. Even your marketing, rely on one marketing avenue. We talk about Google Ads all the time. It's a great way to build up your business. And when you first start, you very well might be exposed with having just mainly one form of advertising, at least at the very beginning. Now, you should be doing Home Advisor too, getting out on Facebook, interacting on Nextdoor, putting out yard signs. But you might find there's one that's just bringing in most of your work. You need to get away from that as quickly as you can. So SEO, in terms of Google Ads, SEO is the best way to kind of create some margin or cushion yourself against a potential blow from Google Ads. We have seen and heard cases of Google just randomly suspending an ads account, supposedly for a violation of their policy. And then after about 4 weeks, because it's impossible to get up with anybody at Google who can actually do anything. After about 4 weeks, all of a sudden they said, "Whoops, you know what? We made a mistake. Your ads account's back. It's turned back on." Over that 4-week time frame, think about all the business you could have missed out on because you were way too exposed. We have a question? What we got?
We actually got two. We got one comment. Juan from Bay Hauling says he is definitely working on hiring. He said it's a tough market, and he's currently applying the JRA process.
So, and even on the hiring, so on the hiring end of things, and by the way, Juan, I always appreciate you commenting on here, and I hope you enjoyed your visit with Shane recently. On the hiring process, even with junk doctors and JRA, like what we're trying to think on right now with junk removal, with junk doctors, not JRA, but junk doctors, is how can we, what can we do to be more aggressive? All right, guys, so the second part of this show is going to be just kind of pre-recorded. It's not really live. We'll put it out later. We've had some technical issues here, so the live show portions had to get paused, at least for now. So we were talking about different areas of exposure because we're thinking about, all right, what are the things you can constantly be improving? All right, so we talked about injuries. We talked about people, and actually, this is one thing on here is people, or do we have reliance on people? So we went through all of that. One marketing avenue we talked about. So the next thing when you're looking on what you can improve, so once you follow up and you say, in terms of areas of exposure, we're okay there, then the next thing to potentially look at is going to be customer experience. Do you have a positive customer experience? And you should measure this. So you want to measure, scale of 1 to 10, how happy are you with the service that you receive? You want to really understand that. So on customer experience, are your guys trained how to do proper customer service? Are we calling ahead to let customers know that we're on the way? Are we getting there on time? Are we not damaging property? So that's where you really need to look. Or somebody answering the phone as soon as the call comes in. Are we able to get to the jobs soon enough? Are we having to reschedule people? So this is all the stuff you need to look at. If you have an issue with your customer experience or areas of opportunity with your customer experience, you need to recognize that and you need to fix that. So the first thing you've checked to make sure, all right, where are my areas of exposure where things could go bad? Second thing you're looking at, and maybe these two could sometimes be flip-flopped, But the second thing is going to be the customer experience. If your customer experience is really bad, if you're getting a lot of bad complaints all the time, then this would be, customer experience should be first. Otherwise, look at areas of exposure, then look at customer experience. Following that, look at areas of efficiency that you can improve. So, in terms of truck routing, have we set this up in a way where maybe we have a couple trucks, and are we scheduling in a way that we're not having to go all over the place? And oftentimes what you can do on this to make this a little better, if you review your schedule the night or the day before, and if you notice that you're getting routed all over the place, just get on the phone and call up your customers and say, hey, is it possible, no big deal if you can't do this, but is it possible for you to go at this time? And if you do that, that could be a way to really get more efficient operations. Also, are you supplying the proper tools to your teams? Some of the stuff we've seen people use, hot tub dollies, to be able to better remove hot tubs. We're exploring that option at the moment. We're not using them. We found a good way of going about it. But hot tub dollies is something you could look into. Do you at least have the basic tools out there, the sawzalls, the hand carts, the appliance dollies? You could potentially get a Bobcat. That was one of the best purchases we ever made, was a Bobcat, or even a compact track loader. So you need to look at, are there jobs that we're getting a lot of that we're unable to do extremely well because we don't have the proper tools, or maybe we're doing them well, but there's a better way of doing them if we just have the proper tools. So that's the next thing to look at. Following efficiency is expansion. So many of you want to do expansion first. You want to grow the top line as much as possible. You want to get more trucks. You want to be in more areas because it just feels like you're really, really growing. You don't want to necessarily focus on these three things. Well, the problem is if you don't have these three things in order and you go straight to expansion, you're going to get busted because you don't have a good foundation. So it's like you're trying to build a 10,000 square foot house on a 1,000 square foot foundation. It's not going to work very well. So you've got to build up these three things first and constantly work to improve them. Now, what happens after you've gotten, say, more services? That's one way to expand. Or geographically. So what happens after you've opened up some additional service? You've expanded geographically. Maybe not as large as you eventually will be, but you've opened up a new area, new city, and you've gone into a new service. So what do you do now? What do you improve now? Well, you repeat. Because as you expand, as you grow, you're going to have to revisit the areas of exposure, revisit customer experience, and revisit efficiency. Because as you get larger, what worked for a 1 truck or a 2 or even a 3 truck single location will not work once you go to multiple locations and once you have multiple services. This is constant, guys, all the time. For the rest of your life, or at least the rest of your business life, you will be working on these things. So, one thing I really want to drive home is improvement. Improvement is not just a single task. Like when you put something on there, it's, you say, all right, I want to clear off all my areas of exposure. Well, you're never going to be perfect. You will never be perfect at it. So you're always going to have to work on it. So improvement is a campaign. Improvement is not an event. Constant improvement is not an event. It is a campaign. So many business owners, you just want to check stuff off. You want it to be done. Constant improvement is something you're never going to be finished on. But the great thing about it is constant improvement, if you have that outlook, it keeps you interested in your work all the time because you're always looking for areas where you can make things better, ways to provide more value to customers, more services to provide. Yeah, I mean, ways to make more money too. Constantly trying to figure out, how can we provide better service at a lower cost, increasing our profit margins. It's always, 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 how can we provide a better environment for our team members? Give our team members the best possible environment. Well, that's going to help out the customer experience, and long term, that's going to allow the company to make more money and grow larger. So it's a constant challenge. It's like Mark Cuban said business is the greatest, I think it's like business is the greatest sport ever because it's 24/7, 365. So if you have that focus in on it and you challenge yourself and you create these, this challenge for constant improvement, then you're really going to get to a point where you're having a lot of fun and you're really going to build an absolutely amazing business. Now, one of the very important things to realize when you are constantly improving is you have to think through exactly what you're looking at doing. Because every single time you do something, if you don't think it through all the way, you might find it doesn't have the intended effect. So earlier I mentioned John Maxwell. He has something that I think is pretty cool. He has a step process for essentially making change in your company. So we got plan ahead here. The very first one is you need to predetermine course of action. Then we have layout goals, adjust priorities, notify key people, allow time, head into action, expect problems, we've got point to success, always point to success, and then daily review progress. I love this. So plan ahead. I came across this. I'm actually printing some stuff out to go up in my office with that plan ahead on there with each of these steps. So what's the first thing? Well, first thing is predetermine the course. So what are you working on changing? The next thing is laying out your goals. So obviously any change that we enact needs to be allowing us to reach whatever goals that we've set. And this is the part where I really, really love, is once we get in here, adjusting priorities. In order for you to work on one thing, you're going to have to give up something else. So you need to determine, look at your list of most important things and determine, is this change that you want to do, what's going to get bumped off this list? And is what the change that you're trying to do, is it truly more important? If not, you need to look at your other priorities and figure out, is there a way to make those get taken care of faster, better? You get the picture. Notifying key people. In your business, you're going to have some people that need to know this potential change before the others. And generally, you want to bring maybe 20% of what you're looking for, kind of the vision, the reason you think it needs to get changed, and maybe a few ways of accomplishing it. Bring it to your people, your key people, and then say, hey, what can we do to make this happen? What can we do to improve this? And challenge them to come up with ways of accomplishing what you're trying to accomplish. You might in your head already have this mostly figured out, but you might find they actually have a better way of doing it, or at minimum, if they come to sort of the same conclusion, they have contributed to this decision, so they're much more likely to get behind it and push it through. So the people you need to notify are the ones that it's critical for you to have their support to actually get it done and get it done well. You need to then allow time. This is the one where a lot of people struggle, especially I struggle with this. once that change is implemented, once you've notified the key people, give it a little bit of time to get people's buy-in and all that kind of stuff. Because generally what's going to happen is at very first they're going to say there's no way this is going to work. No way possible this is going to work. The second thing they're going to say is it's way too expensive. No way we can spend that amount of money. And the third thing they generally say is I supported it all along. So give it a little bit of time to really set in. Then get into action. So once you have your key people supporting it, jump into action, execute this thing, make it happen. Expect problems along the way. Anytime we implement something new, almost every single time, you will have problems. Something is going to occur, so don't go into it thinking it's going to be perfect. Just go into it saying, you know what, we're going to have some issues here. We are going to have some issues here. Always point to successes. It's very easy to look at the things you're doing wrong or the things that aren't going well. You want to fix those things, but you want to make sure everything that is going well, you're pointing it out. You're championing it. If you do that, then people will stay supportive. And then the last thing, daily review of progress. Every single day, look at it. If you aren't paying attention to it every single day until the point it just becomes part of your daily habit, part of your organization's daily habit, then at that point it's going to get forgotten. You're going to go back to your old ways. Plan ahead, John Maxwell. Excellent, 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 excellent. Here's the deal, guys. If you focus on your business constantly improving for 5 years, you're going to have an absolutely spectacular business. You're going to be making more money than you've probably ever made. You're going to be extremely happy. If you're not careful, you're going to be content. If you keep doing it for another 5 years, so for 10 years total, then at that point, you're going to have a business that is absolutely almost world-class. You're going to be in multiple locations, multiple services. You're going to be well-known. You're going to have an amazing, amazing business, 10 years of constant improvement. Appreciate you watching this. Obviously, we were live at the start of this. Internet kicked out. Hopefully, this last part you found to be extremely valuable. We will kick off with the Amazon drawing next week. The drawings for this week, we're going to get into next week as well. What we can do, Matt, is we can actually have double up people's drawings. If they enter this week and next week, we'll double them up. They'll have more of a chance to win. Thanks for watching. I'm Lee Godbold, Junk Removal Authority, where we help junk removal business owners make more money and live a better life. See you next week.